Okay, welcome to timeline number 2 here. We're going to finish up this exercise and we're going to be dealing with two specific things. One is going to be altering what's called the alpha of a movie clip. The second is going to be altering the path of a tween. These are going to allow for much more flexibility via the properties tab, which you have over here. Again, hopefully using this as a sort of basis from which Project 1 is going to stem from in terms of organization. Remember, we now have scene 1 and 2. Please also note in relative to the scenes that when I have scene 1 and 2, I can go to Window Scene, and I can move these things around. If for some reason I think scene 2 should be first, I can grab scene 2, and now it will be first in my .fla, and thus my Swift when I publish it. Okay, I'm going to keep this as scene 1 and 2. Note that you can also name these scenes by double-clicking on them, so in terms of organization, yet another way to sort of keep things organized. Okay, but I'm going to go to scene 2 now. I have my water background sort of taking up frames 1 through 150 or so. What I'm going to do is sort of create a few different layers. They're going to be more of our bird flying. So it says insert a layer and name it Alpha Bird 1 and make sure it's on top of the water background. So I'm going to insert a layer. I'm going to call this Alpha Bird 1. Okay. It says insert a keyframe at frame 30. All I'm doing here is creating just a tiny bit of space and thus time between when this bird sort of appears. Next it says drag the bird movie clip from the library onto the stage at frame 30 of the Alpha Bird 1 and place it at the bottom right. Okay, so what we're going to do is sort of get this guy ready, bottom right, to be moving across the stage. Okay. It says insert a motion tween. And now this motion tween goes all the way to frame 160. I don't want it necessarily to sort of last that long, so I'm simply going to go up to frame 80. So it says go to frame 80 and click on it. Okay. When I click on this, I'm sort of stating that I'm going to do something to the bird. This is a little bit different in terms of how we've done motion tweens before, but I want you to watch what happens. Okay. So I click on that frame 80. And it says grab the bird movie clip, the one on the stage, so this one right here, and move it to the top left. Okay, this is going to create what's called a tween frame, and you'll notice that it sort of creates a tween frame or a keyframe there, and that when it gets to 80, it basically just stops. We have the motion tween lasting all the way until frame 150, but it's simply going to stop right there. Okay, now it says go directly to the Properties tab and choose Color Effect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Properties tab. Okay, and Color Effect is sort of midway down here. You'll see lots of different possibilities. We're going to deal with some of these later. Some of these have to do with again the alpha. We can add different filters to these things. That's a little more complex. What I'm going to do is it says in the drop-down menu choose alpha. Okay. And that says pull the alpha from 100, and it's actually at 78 here, to 0. Okay. Now, what we have done is basically inside this tween, and you can actually see this as you move the playhead back and forth, is state that right here, because we didn't really do anything right there, that it's 100%. That alpha is 100%. One thing to sort of not get tripped up by is sort of when the Properties tab is showing you this kind of stuff. You have to actually click on that movie clip and you'll see the menu changes over here. So the alpha is 100%. As we move to this last tween frame, and I'm going to click on the actual movie clip. Oops, I lost it. It's a little tricky. When we click on the actual movie clip, you'll see over here that, sorry, I'm having trouble clicking on that. There we go. You'll see that the alpha is at 0. Okay, so as we move back and forth, it goes from 100 to 0. Okay. Now it says step 40 with the selection tool. Click on the path that represents the tween. We've sort of seen this before, and grab a point so that an arc is created. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. We can sort of move these in various ways. So I'm going to create a simple arc so that not only do we have this bird sort of flying upward and fading, but we have sort of a very sort of pointed or more sort of considered arc. Okay. Now, What you're to do next is create two more motion tweens, okay, with Bird Movie Clip taking advantage of both the alpha property as well as the altered path. So I want two more layers, probably Alpha Bird 2 and Alpha Bird 3, that do basically this. Have one go from left to right, have another one go right to left. I don't care. You need two more birds, so a total of 3 on this scene that take advantage of alpha and also take advantage of this sort of altered path. Okay, the idea behind this is giving you a little more flexibility in terms of how that motion works. Later we'll get into sort of how these things orient to this path. There's lots of different ways to sort of have this thing move in a particular way, and we'll sort of get into that a little bit later. This is timeline. Again, add two more motion tweens that involve 2 alpha alterations and 2 path alterations. Okay, so you're going to end up with 3 birds. What your movie is going to end up looking like when you add is we're going to go to test the movie. So we have scene 1 here, and then we cut directly to scene 2. We have a slight pause, and then our bird comes in and fades out. Again, you're adding 2 more birds to this, okay? So I want 2 more birds. They can overlap, I don't care. They can change sizes, etc. But you're going to have 3 total birds in this last scene, okay? Any questions, concerns about this, please definitely email me. Please also take advantage of office hours. Please check that on the syllabus. They're Tuesdays from 10 to noon, I believe. I open a chat up. I don't have a ton of visitors in that. It's a good place for us to exchange files and sort of see if things are going wrong, especially once we get into the projects. A word about, and we'll just take a quick look here. Word about sort of materials this week. There's a great example of a Project One. Please take a look at this in relation to the Project One idea. It's a simple sentiment. The idea is that you're conveying something within 30 seconds. So I'm going to click on Project One here. For this project, you're to create a very simple sentiment. The sentiment should tell a story using uncomplicated animated graphics. Consider how to create metaphor without complex characters. How can you maybe create metaphor ideas with simple shapes? How color plays a role in reading the idea, whether it's a background or moving elements. How a complex idea might be conveyed quickly and efficiently. How the size of objects convey meaning. I had a project a year or 2 ago. I think it was about bullying or something similar to that, and they were sort of using size, color to sort of convey a very complex idea. How the speed of movements affect meaning. One of the big things that happens at the beginning of people's projects is things move too fast. Please extend out your tweens. You'll get to 30 seconds much more quickly, and you'll sort of obviously probably convey things in an animated sense in a little more natural way. If things are happening way, way too quickly, move those keyframes, move them up. Start thinking about how many frames per second there are and how long a movement should last. How you might personify simple shapes. Can shapes elements, and you'll sort of see this in the example, the discussion that we're going to do this week with this movie Heavyweight. It's very, very simple in terms of the drawing, but it conveys an idea very well. How simple but stable backgrounds can add to the scene. Please don't have a white background. If you have a white background, there should be a reason you have a white background. It shouldn't be just because the backgrounds are, that's the default. So you're making one at a minimum, meaning at a minimum 30 seconds, not one. The minimum is 30 seconds. It may only contain vector graphics created in Flash. No imported photographs. We're going to deal with photographs later. Export it as a SWIFT file. I can't say enough. I need SWIFTs, not FLAs. And this is due in 2 weeks, which is February 23rd. Next week, we're going to have one more little exercise. You guys have, if we take a look here, you have your timeline. This is the example. Here's week 5 information. You have a discussion on a movie called Heavyweight, sort of a catch-all week. I'm going to be going back and grading the street discussions. Again, I think that was a simple example, sort of conveying an idea. It was a much more complex film in terms of the technical stuff. So email me about any of and all this. Please check grades for last week's exercises. Please also make sure you have week 4 exercises in tonight. That's all. I will talk to you soon.